Today is November 16th. It is day 41 since the war between Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah has begun. Let's take an inside look into what Israelis are reading in Hebrew newspapers today. Yediot Achronot. It reads, HaKabinet tzarich lehachlit. The war cabinet needs to decide. It's about the hostage deal. There are 239 hostages still in Gaza. This is about the deal to release them. It was so close to being closed and done, and it fell through yesterday. Next headline, Ze haya ve'od yehye beito. This was and will be, in blue, his home. And it still will be his home. It's about a civilian that his house was completely ruined in a massacre on October 7th. We'll see more details inside. And here we see 2 soldiers that were killed, and we know that 2 more soldiers since this morning were killed as well from a different brigade. Let's open up to the main article. It reads, Aliyata u'nesigata shel ha'Iska. The rise and the fall of the deal. Which deal? It's the hostage deal. It's releasing the hostages, and it was so close to, being closed and a done deal, but it fell through. And it says that the government can decide this way or that way, but what it cannot do is to lead the families astray with so much hope. Here it reads that Beit Cholim Shifa, the Shifa hospital, was conquered without one IDF soldier being injured or hurt. Not one patient or Shifa medical staff was hurt either. We lost a few Hamasniks that ran away, but we gained a lot of legitimacy to continue our work. Right here, there's the column that the hospital Shifa is a headquarters for terror, as we found out. So much ammunition, so many control rooms for the terror group Hamas. And in this big picture, we see masses of Gazan citizens continuing to flee from the north part of the strip to the south. Next article, בין שיקול מבצעי לחובה humanitarit. Between a military operational agenda to a humanitarian necessity. And it's about the stress between operating in Gaza and releasing the hostages safe and sound. Israel is continuing to deepen their maneuvers in Gaza, but they know that there will be a problem if Sinwar and Dif, which are the elite Hamas leaders, if they surround themselves with the Israeli hostages, what will the IDF do then? The next headline reads, Iska besiman shela, a deal with a question mark. And says Hamas is strengthening their conditions. It's decreasing the number of hostages they want to release from 80 to 50, while Israel is also not willing to move from their position. Here on the left it reads, Hamishpachot so'adot ba'afela. The families are marching in the darkness. Lo me'adkenim otanu. Quote, we're not being informed. The families of the hostages are marching from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. They've completed 2 days. There are 3 more days to go. And they're crying, saying, we're not being informed. We don't know what's happening. And anything we know is from the news itself. Metzivim gvul. Putting a border or a boundary. This is about putting a boundary for Nasrallah, who's the head of the Hezbollah terror group up in Lebanon. The IDF is continuing to destroy so many lookout points of the Hezbollah. We see here before the attack, after the attack, and there are many of these points that have been destroyed. The citizens from the northern border say, we're happy what the IDF is doing, we're feeling better about it, but there's still so much more to do. The threat is still there. This is about the heroes that will not return. Hagiborim shelo yeshuvu, about the two soldiers that were killed. Yedidia is 26, and Yosef is 27. And of course we know about 2 more, as I said, from a different brigade that were killed as well. Bein haharisot, between the ruins. This is a story about Shai Hirmash. Shai Hirmash was a former Knesset member. He's going back to his home. Yesterday was the first time he's going back to his home that was completely ruined. He lives in Kfar Aza, which is a village in Israeli land. Even though it's called Aza, it's in Israeli Jewish land called Village Aza. And his house was completely ruined because there were terrorists in it. He himself was rescued so many hours after what happened on October 7th. Early on October 8th, he was finally rescued. The terrorists were still in the home, and the IDF had to completely destroy his home. He's coming back to look for little things that he can save. His son Omer was also killed on October 7th. He went through a very difficult event, and he says, we went through a very difficult event, he says, but we will come back and we will build the kibbutz again. So much hope. And here's some international news about Japan. It says, Gdolim beJapan, great in Japan. Hapolitikaim veHaezrachim shetomchim beIsrael, the politicians and the citizens that are supporting Israel. Hayedida hagdola meAsia, the great friend from Asia. And in the photo we see officials, politicians, Japanese politicians with a sign that we can read in English, we stand with Israel, and in Japanese. This is very encouraging, and it's very significant to get such support from Asia. In the last page, we see the daily segment, Chatufim, the hostages. And here is Michal. Her husband is still in Gaza, being abducted, and she's pregnant. And it's written, Tachzor Abba, come back, father. And here's a picture of her husband, Alex, who is still in Gaza. So these are the headlines of the Hebrew newspapers today. For more stories, go to All Israel News. Please follow us on social media and YouTube. This is Rotem Magen for All Israel News.